council chamber was a marvel of ancient engineering and alien artistry. Towering pillars spiraled into the unseen heights of the vaulted dome, their surfaces glowing faintly with energy inscriptions that pulsed like a heartbeat. Around a vast circular table sat representatives from dozens of starfaring civilizations, each unique in form and culture, but bound by a single purpose, deciding the fate of humanity. For centuries, the Interstellar Council had maintained a delicate balance between species, managing disputes, trade, and territorial claims with careful diplomacy. But now, the mood in the chamber was tense, electric with uncertainty. At the center of the council floor stood the High Chancellor, a regal figure with shimmering scales that reflected the ambient light in shifting colors. The Chancellor's voice echoed through the chamber as they opened the session. Representatives of the galaxy, we gather today to address the growing threat from the Sol system. Humanity has advanced beyond all predictions. Their recent expansion into neighboring systems and rapid technological progress cannot be ignored. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Some species had long regarded humans as primitive and unpredictable, but others now viewed them as dangerously ambitious. Councillor Zalthar, a tall, crystalline being from the planet Viridian, raised his voice. Their fleets are small, their weapons crude compared to our own. Why escalate this conflict now? Could we not open diplomatic channels? A chorus of agreement followed from several representatives. But Councillor Marek of the Krelther Dominion, a militaristic empire known for its strict governance, shook his head. Diplomacy has been tried. Humanity's recent construction of the Arc-class warship shows clear intent to challenge established order. Their refusal to halt expansion into contested sectors is a declaration of defiance. The debate raged for hours, each voice adding new concerns and warnings. Intelligence. Reports of human experimental weapons, adaptive artificial intelligences, and rapid colonization were dissected and analyzed. The council weighed their options carefully. In the shadow of the chamber, a silent observer recorded every word, the war machine already preparing to move forward. Even as the debate continued, finally, the High Chancellor called the assembly to order for the vote. Let it be known, the Chancellor intoned, that the Interstellar Council votes today on whether to declare humanity a hostile entity and commence coordinated military action. One by one, the representatives cast their votes, red for war, green for peace. The tally was clear. A majority had voted in favor of war. A stunned silence followed. Councillor Zalthar's crystalline form shimmered with regret. We may have underestimated them. Across the galaxy, news of the vote would travel swiftly, sparking fear, determination, and hope in equal measure. Back on Earth, in the heart of the capital city's defense command, General Anna Reyes leaned over a holographic map, her eyes narrowing. Have we received any unusual transmissions? She asked. Her aide shook his head. Nothing out of the ordinary, ma'am. Routine patrols report no immediate threats. Reyes nodded, but did not relax. Humanity had come far since the days of simple satellites and ground forces. They had learned that peace was fragile. In secret laboratories beneath the surface, scientists monitored developments in alien technology intercepted in past encounters. Advanced propulsion systems, energy shields, and AI algorithms were being studied and adapted. Earth's leaders met in secure councils, discussing contingencies without alarming the public. They knew the vote was coming soon, or had already passed somewhere out there. The first move, whenever it came, would decide everything. Above the planet, satellites traced the slow rotation of the world, a silent sentinel watching the stars. Beyond, humanity's future hung in the balance between fear and hope, peace and war. As the council's decision echoed through the void, the people of Earth prepared, united by one certainty: they would not be conquered without a fight. The silence of space shattered without warning. Deep beyond Earth's outer colonies, the massive council fleet emerged from the shadows of the Kuiper Belt. Thousands of warships, their hulls gleaming cold and foreboding, moved with precise coordination and overwhelming force, poised to strike the first blow in the war against humanity. The council had expected a quick victory. After all, Earth's fleets were modest compared to their combined might. Their colonies were scattered and lightly defended, perfect targets for a decisive assault. But humanity was ready. In the command center of the orbital defense platform above Mars, General Anna Reyes stared intently at the incoming fleet's trajectory. They're coming in fast and coordinated, she said, voice calm but firm. Prepare all defenses. Activate stealth fighters and deploy the adaptive AI units. We fight smart, not just hard. The human response was swift and calculated. Instead of meeting the Council fleet head-on with heavy ships, Earth's forces scattered into smaller, agile squadrons that struck unexpectedly. Stealth fighters slipped through sensor gaps, launching precise attacks on capital ships' weak points. Adaptive AI systems predicted enemy maneuvers and coordinated counterattacks. Faster than any alien fleet commander could respond, the outer colonies, equipped with new defensive technologies and supported by local militias, became fierce strongholds. Saboteurs on board Council vessels disrupted weapon systems from within, turning the tide of battle in unexpected ways. On the planet of New Ars, one of the first targets, defenders watched the sky fill with Council warships as the fleet prepared to bombard the surface. Underground resistance fighters activated hidden energy grids, generating electromagnetic pulses that blinded enemy sensors. Surface batteries then unleashed devastating volleys against disoriented attackers. The Council forces faltered. What is this resistance? A frustrated admiral barked over comms. They fight with precision, not just numbers. Back in orbit, General Rey's voice cut through the tension. It's not just technology, it's human will. They refuse to be broken. The battle raged for days, with heavy losses on both sides, but humanity's strategic use of terrain, combined with asymmetric warfare tactics, kept the Council forces off balance. In an unprecedented move, Earth deployed a new weapon, a networked AI swarm that infiltrated enemy communication channels, feeding false information and disrupting command protocols. Ships turned on each other in confusion, fracturing the Council fleet's cohesion. By the time the dust settled, the Council forces were in retreat. Their first strike defeated and humiliated. On Earth, news of the victory spread quickly, fueling hope and determination. In a broadcast to the world, President Narration spoke with steady resolve. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will not bow to fear or force. Our resistance is not just technology, it is the spirit of every person who believes in freedom. This is only the beginning. Across occupied colonies, secret celebrations erupted. Resistance leaders sent encrypted messages to Earth, pledging renewed support. Ordinary citizens, inspired by the news, found new courage to stand against their occupiers. Yet even as humanity celebrated, the Council convened urgently. In the war room of the flagship Dominion's Wrath, Councilor Marek slammed his fist on the table. We have underestimated our enemy. This is no mere species to crush. They fight with heart, with cunning. Others nodded grimly. The Council's war was no longer a simple campaign. It had become a battle against a force they had not expected and could not easily defeat. General Reyes prepared her team for the challenges ahead. Knowing this victory was both a cause for hope and a warning, the Council would come again, stronger, smarter. And humanity would have to be ready. The victory against the Council's first strike reverberated across Earth and its outer colonies. But the taste of triumph was tempered by the knowledge that this war was only beginning. The Council's forces would not be so easily deterred. Again. In the sprawling command center beneath Earth's surface, General Honor Reyes stood before a holographic display. The map of contested space flickering with countless symbols representing ships, colonies, and supply routes. Her expression was resolute. Victory today means nothing if we are divided tomorrow, Reyes said. Turning to the assembled commanders, we need unity. Every nation, every colony, every resistance cell under one banner. Only then can we stand a chance. The years of fractured governments, competing interests, and old rivalries were set aside. In the face of an existential threat, humanity united. The United Earth Defense Command was born, merging military forces and intelligence networks into a single, coordinated effort. Scientists worked day and night in laboratories hidden deep underground, using data captured from the Council's retreating ships. They reverse-engineered alien technology, energy shields, propulsion systems, and weapon designs and blended it with human innovation. The result was a new generation of starships. Faster, stealthier, and more versatile, AI systems became more advanced, learning from each encounter with Council forces and adapting in real time. Every success built on the last, every failure a lesson learned. Beyond Earth, resistance movements on occupied colonies grew from scattered cells into disciplined militias. Local leaders, inspired by humanity's resilience, organized their people to fight back. Communication channels opened between Earth and these planets, sharing tactics and resources on tireless 4. A mining colony recently liberated from council control. Commander Rena Voss stood before her troops. "We've been under their heel long," she said, "but no longer. Earth has shown us we can fight and win. We're not alone." Her forces launched daring raids against council supply depots, cutting off reinforcements and crippling their enemies' logistics. Each victory sent a wave of hope through the colonies, weakening the council's grip. Meanwhile, within the council's own ranks, unease grew. Reports of the human resurgence unsettled many. Some questioned their leader's decision to declare war. Others feared the long-term consequences. Councillor Zalthar, once a voice of caution, pressed for a reassessment. Humanity adapts. They learn quickly. They unify. "We face an enemy unlike any before." But Councillor Marek remained adamant. "We cannot afford hesitation. If we falter, our entire order will crumble." As the conflict stretched on, the council's unity began to fracture. Some factions whispered of negotiation, while others planned darker measures to crush the resistance. On Earth, General Reyes prepared her forces for the inevitable next phase. Intelligence indicated the council was regrouping, planning new offensives, but humanity had grown stronger, smarter, and more determined. In a quiet moment, Reyes reflected on the sacrifices made. Thousands of lives lost in battle, families torn apart by war. Yet beneath the pain, a fierce hope burned. "This is our fight," she said softly to herself, "not just for survival, but for freedom, for every world that dreams of choosing its own fate." As night fell over Earth, satellites watched the stars with new purpose. Humanity was no longer the galaxy's underdog. They were rising stronger, united, ready to face whatever came next. The war for the future had just begun. The war between Earth and the Council was no longer fought only in the open skies above distant colonies or on barren battlefields. It had shifted into the shadows, a silent, unseen conflict waged deep within enemy territory and across the farthest reaches of space. In the hidden corridors of an abandoned asteroid station, Commander Rena Voss and her elite team gathered around a holographic map dotted with flickering red icons. Council-supplied convoys, communication hubs, and critical infrastructure targets. "Our goal is simple," Rena said, voice low and steady. "We disrupt their supply lines, cripple their communications, and sow confusion. Every attack weakens their grip and strengthens our position." Unlike the massive fleet battles that dominated headlines, this shadow war depended on precision, secrecy, and nerves of steel. Small strike teams infiltrated enemy installations, hacking systems and planting explosives before slipping away like ghosts. On the Council flagship Dominion's Wrath, panic simmered beneath the surface. Sensors flickered inexplicably, communication channels went dark, then scrambled. Supply shipments vanished or arrived late, throwing schedules into chaos. Councillor Marek slammed his fist on the command console. "These sabotage attacks, who leads them? How are they striking so deep?" His aide hesitated. "Commander Rena Voss, ma'am. She was last reported operating from the liberated sectors near the Arcturus system." Marek's eyes narrowed. "She's become more than a thorn in our side. She's a symbol of resistance." Back on Earth, Rena reviewed intercepted council transmissions. The cracks within the coalition were widening. Suspicion and paranoia spread among alien leaders, some accusing their own allies of betrayal. Human intelligence operatives exploited these divisions, sending forged messages and false orders that turned factions against one another. Ursay Swarm worked tirelessly, flooding enemy networks with misinformation and disrupting strategic planning. But the Shadow War was not without cost. Infiltration teams faced deadly risks. Every mission carried the chance of capture or death. Yet their sacrifices fueled hope across the galaxy. In a secure briefing room, General Ana Reyes met with her top commanders. "The Council's unity is fracturing," she began. "Their forces are stretched thin, distracted by internal conflict. This is our moment to press the advantage." Her gaze swept the room. "But be warned, the enemy is desperate. They will strike back hard and without warning." Meanwhile, on the occupied world of Varus 9, local resistance fighters coordinated with Earth's covert operatives. Together, they ambushed council patrols, seized weapon caches, and liberated prisoners of war. Eli Navarro, a former engineer turned resistance leader, addressed his team in a cramped underground bunker. "We are not just fighting for ourselves," he said. "We fight for every voice silenced, every world oppressed. Our actions ripple beyond these walls." News of successful sabotage and liberation spread like wildfire. Colonies once resigned to submission found new courage. Secret transmissions carried messages of unity and defiance. Yet the council refused to surrender. In desperation, they deployed bounty hunters and elite assassins to hunt down resistance. Leaders and spies, shadows lengthened, and danger lurked in every corner on Earth. Security tightened. Homes of known resistance supporters were guarded. Training intensified. Every citizen became part of the defense, whether on the battlefield or behind the scenes. As the Shadow War deepened, it became clear this conflict was not just about firepower or territory. It was a battle of wills, of intelligence, and of determination. Humanity had learned that strength alone would not win the day. It was their ability to adapt, to fight in the shadows, and to inspire hope that would shape the future. General Reyes stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital command station. Watching the stars, the council thought war would be quick. She said quietly, but they underestimated the human spirit, and that will be their downfall. Above, the stars shimmered silent witnesses to a war that no one saw coming. The war dragged on, stretching across countless star systems. Yet humanity's resistance only grew stronger. The council's once unshakable coalition was beginning to show signs of strain. Distrust simmered among its members, and secret meetings whispered of change on a distant, lush world on the edge of council space. The Alari, a graceful and enigmatic species known for their wisdom, at long last spans watched the conflict unfold with increasing concern. For decades, the Alari had maintained a cautious neutrality, valuing balance above all else. Their leader, Elder Cyril, convened a council beneath towering crystalline trees that glowed softly in the twilight. The council's decision to wage war on Earth has destabilized the region, Cyril said, his voice gentle but firm. Humanity fights not just with weapons, but with resilience and unity. They remind us of a time when species rose together through cooperation, not conquest. One of his advisors, a sharp-eyed female named Lyra, nodded. Their spirit is unlike anything we've seen. This war could consume us all if it continues unchecked. The elders debated quietly, but reached a rare consensus. The Alari would make contact with humanity, not as conquerors or council enforcers, but as allies offering knowledge and hope. Meanwhile, on Earth, intelligence intercepted a cryptic transmission. The message was cautious, but clear. The Alari wished to open dialogue. At first, Earth's leaders were wary. Could they trust a faction from the council's own ranks? But the message carried detailed information about council weaknesses and advanced technology's proof of good faith. General Honor Reyes met with Elder Cyril's envoy aboard a neutral space station. Orbiting the dead moon, the Alari's appearance was ethereal, tall, slender, with luminous skin and eyes that seemed to hold galaxies. We have watched your fight, Cyril said. Your courage has rekindled hope. We offer our aid, not to dominate, but to restore balance and peace. With the Alari's technology, Earth scientists accelerated their own advancements. Energy shields became stronger and more efficient, starship engines more powerful and silent. Communication systems grew more secure and resistant to council hacking. More importantly, the Alari shared strategies born from centuries of diplomatic experience. They helped Earth understand the fractures within the council coalition, how mistrust and ambition had begun to unravel even the most powerful factions. Armed with this new knowledge and technology, Earth planned a bold counteroffensive. The campaign began with precision strikes on critical council command centers and supply lines, coordinated with resistance forces across multiple systems. With the Alari's help, human pilots navigated enemy defenses with unprecedented skill, avoiding traps and ambushes. One key victory came on the planet Zilris Prime, a strategic hub for the Council's fleet repairs. Earth's forces, led by Commander Renavos, launched a daring assault using stealth bombers equipped with Alari cloaking devices. The operation was a success. Council defenses fell, and Zilris Prime was liberated. The victory sent a shockwave through the council ranks, shaking confidence and sparking hope among occupied worlds. In a message broadcast galaxy-wide, President Mira Chen declared, "We stand not alone, but together with new friends and allies. This war is not just humanity's fight. It is a struggle for freedom and justice across the stars." Back in the council chambers, chaos reigned. Councilor Marek, furious and desperate, accused the Alari of betrayal. "They have turned against us," he shouted. "This is treason," other council members whispered. fearful of their own fate if humanity's resistance continued to grow stronger. But for humanity, the unexpected alliance was a turning point. As Earth's fleets pushed forward, backed by Alari technology and knowledge, the resistance gained momentum. Colonies were liberated, supply lines severed, and council forces forced into retreat. The war was far from over, but hope burned brighter than ever. General Reyes stood on the bridge of the flagship, Liberty's dawn, looking out at the stars. Sometimes, the greatest strength comes not from might alone, she said softly, but from the friends we find in the darkest times. The galaxy was watching. A new chapter had begun. As Earth and its newfound ally, the Alari, pressed their advantage. The Interstellar Council faced its gravest crisis. What had begun as a confident declaration of war now teetered on the edge of collapse. Their forces were stretched thin, supply lines severed, and internal divisions widening. Counselor Marek sat alone in the dimly lit chamber of the Dominion's Wrath, the flagship of the Council's fleet. His usual imposing presence was shadowed by exhaustion and frustration. The once-in-question leader of the war faction now found himself isolated as whispers of dissent echoed through the council halls. A holographic display flickered before him, showing the positions of Earth's fleet steadily advancing and growing stronger with each victory. Marek slammed his fist against the console. We cannot afford further losses, he growled. If we lose this war, our empire fractures. Behind him, the door slid open, and Counselor Zalthar entered, his crystalline form shimmering faintly. Marek, Zalthar said calmly, it's time to consider alternatives. Your strategy has failed. Earth and the Alari Alliance have outmatched us not through sheer power, but through unity and adaptability. We must find a way to end this before it consumes us all. Marek turned sharply. And what do you suggest? Negotiate with them. After all they've done? No, Zalthar replied. Not negotiation, a final gambit. Marek's brow furrowed. Explain. Zalthar outlined a bold and dangerous plan. The Council would deploy a clandestine weapon, a massive quantum disruption device hidden deep within a remote star system. Once activated, it would unleash a wave of energy capable of destabilizing entire fleets and communication networks across light years. It was a weapon of last resort, untested and unpredictable. If successful, Zalthar said, it will blind their forces, fragment their command, and buy us precious time to regroup. If we fail, we risk annihilation. Marek weighed the risks, but knew they had few options left. We proceed, he said grimly. On Earth, the warning came too late. Alari sensors detected unusual energy readings near the Vesper Nebula, a remote region where neither side had previously stationed forces. General Ana Reyes convened an emergency meeting. This is it, she said. The Council is deploying something massive. We must act fast. Using Alari stealth technology, Earth's reconnaissance teams infiltrated the nebula, searching for the source of the anomaly. They discovered the hidden quantum device, an enormous construct orbiting a dying star, pulsing with unstable energy. Commander Rena Voss led a daring strike team tasked with disabling the weapon before activation. The mission was perilous. Council security drones patrolled the area, and the quantum device's energy field caused strange, disorienting effects on sensors and communication. As the team approached, alarms blared. The device began charging, a low hum vibrating through their ships. Rena's voice was steady. We've got one shot at this. Deploy the EMP charges and get clear. The charges detonated, sending a wave of electromagnetic pulses that disrupted the device's systems. But the weapon did not shut down entirely. Instead, it unleashed a partial quantum burst, fragments of energy rippling unpredictably through space. Suddenly, communications across Earth's fleet faltered. Ships lost contact, sensors blinded. Confusion spread like wildfire. General Reyes barked orders. Stay calm, use backup protocols. We've trained for this. Despite the chaos, Earth's forces regrouped. Their AI swarms adapted quickly, isolating the effects and restoring communications piece by piece. The quantum burst had slowed them, but it had not stopped humanity. The Council fleet, also affected by the device, was thrown into disarray. Ships collided or drifted off course. The chaos gave Earth's remaining forces a chance to strike hard. In the battle that followed, Earth's combined fleets, bolstered by Alari technology and tactical genius, dealt a decisive blow. The Dominion's Wrath itself was critically damaged. Forced to retreat, back in the Council chamber, Marek faced the bitter truth. We gambled everything and lost, he admitted to Zolthar. The council is breaking apart. Zolthar nodded solemnly. Perhaps it is time to seek a different future on Earth as the fleets returned victorious. General Reyes addressed her people. The council's last gambit nearly blinded. U.S., she said, but our resolve held strong. This war has tested us in ways we never imagined. Yet we stand united, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. The quantum device's threat was a reminder that the council still had desperate measures. But humanity had shown it could endure anything. The war was far from over, but the tide had turned. Now, the question remained, what would the council do next? The aftermath of the quantum device strike left scars across the battlefield, but more importantly, it marked a pivotal moment in the war between humanity and the council. The tide had shifted decisively in humanity's favor, yet the conflict was far from over. General Honoré stood on the bridge of the Liberty's Dawn, watching the damaged council ships limp away in retreat. Her expression was a mix of determination and fatigue. The victory was hard-won, but it had come at a cost. Behind her, a holographic map flickered with incoming reports. Resistance cells across multiple star systems had coordinated simultaneous uprisings, leveraging the council's momentary weakness. Commander Voss, Reyes said, turning to the young leader standing at her side. Our intelligence indicates that the council's hold on several key colonies is collapsing. How soon can we mobilize reinforcements to capitalize on this? Rena Voss nodded, her jaw set. We can deploy orbital support within hours, and ground forces are ready to move as soon as we receive the green light. Reyes allowed herself a brief nod of approval. Then let's not waste time. Across the galaxy, the colonies began to rise. On the once-occupied world of Varus 9, resistance fighters stormed council installations with newfound confidence. Their efforts, coordinated with Earth's fleet, overwhelmed the remaining defenders. Eli Navarro, the resistance leader, communicated with Earth's command. We've secured the capital city and are pushing into the surrounding regions. The council forces are disorganized, morale shattered. Back on Earth, news of these victories lifted the spirits of a weary population. The tide was turning, not just in battle, but in hope. But amid the celebrations, intelligence reports painted a darker picture. Within the council, fractures deepened. Some factions urged for peace negotiations, seeing the futility of continued war. Others, desperate and unyielding, advocated for a final, devastating strike that could obliterate entire star systems. Councilor Marek, once the face of the war faction, found himself sidelined by rivals who blamed him for their losses. His voice grew quieter, more resigned. In a secret meeting, Zolthar approached Marek with a proposition. The war has cost us too much, Zolthar said. Perhaps it is time to seek a new path, one that includes dialogue rather than destruction. Marek hesitated, but the weight of defeat pressed upon him. If we choose peace, it must be on terms that protect our people. Meanwhile, General Reyes prepared for the next phase. The council's internal divisions presented an opportunity, but also a risk. A misstep could provoke the fanatics into unleashing catastrophic weapons. Reyes called a council of her own leaders from Earth, the outer colonies, and their Alari allies. We stand at a crossroads, she said. The council fractures, but we cannot allow desperation to ignite total war. Our mission is to end this conflict, not just to win battles, but to secure lasting peace. Her words resonated. The coalition agreed to pursue a dual strategy, continue military pressure where necessary, while opening channels for negotiation, with council factions willing to talk. The turning point came during the 10th summit on the neutral planet Sereneville. Delegates from Earth, the Alari, and dissenting council members gathered. The atmosphere was cautious. Years of conflict had bred suspicion. Elder Cyril spoke first. We are here not as enemies, but as species seeking survival and coexistence. This war benefits none of us in the long term. Zolthar, representing the council's moderates, proposed a ceasefire and a framework for shared governance over contested regions. President Mirachan of Earth offered a vision of unity and cooperation, emphasizing respect for all species sovereignty. After hours of debate, the parties reached a fragile agreement to halt major offensives and work toward a peaceful resolution. But peace would not come easily. Outside the summit, extremist factions on both sides plotted to undermine the talks. Assassination attempts, sabotage, and propaganda campaigns threatened to unravel the fragile truce. General Reyes knew the real battle had only just begun this time, not with weapons of war, but with trust, diplomacy, and the courage to build a future together, standing on Serene as verdant plains. She reflected on humanity's journey from a cornered species fighting for survival to a beacon of hope in a divided galaxy. The turning point isn't just a battle one, Reyes said quietly, it's the choice to rise above fear and hatred to build something greater. The galaxy held its breath, the fragile truce held. Though barely, on the surface, the galaxy seemed to pause in breathless anticipation. Yet beneath the calm, tension simmered old wounds, mistrust, and fear shadowed every interaction. General Honor Reyes stood on the balcony of the new interstellar council hall on Sereneville, gazing at the twin suns dipping below the horizon. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of blooming flora and unexpected reminder of the beauty they all fought to protect. Beside her, Elder Cyril's serene presence brought a quiet strength. The path ahead will not be easy, he said. Softly, peace is not the absence of conflict, but the willingness to face it together. Reyes nodded. We have survived the worst. Now we must learn to live as more than enemies. Back on Earth, the wounds of war still lingered. Cities, war scars, families mourned lost loved ones, and memories of battle remained vivid. Yet, the shared struggle had forged a unity deeper than any previous alliance. President Mira Chen addressed the Global Assembly, her voice steady and hopeful. This new dawn is a chance for all of us not just to rebuild what was broken, but to create something stronger, a galaxy where diversity is celebrated, where dialogue replaces destruction across the colonies and occupied worlds. Efforts began to restore communities and economies. Former resistance fighters and council collaborators alike worked side by side, proving that even the deepest divides could be bridged. The Alari, too, committed to the new vision. Their ancient wisdom guided the fledgling peace process, fostering respect and understanding among species. They shared technology to heal planets damaged by war and helped establish neutral zones, where cultural exchanges could flourish. Commander Rena Voss reflected on the journey from insurgent leader to ambassador for peace. We faced an enemy that thought us weak, she said during a diplomatic summit. But our strength was not just in weapons, it was in our spirit, our refusal to bow, and our belief that peace is worth fighting for. Yet, even as hope blossomed, vigilance remained necessary. Deep in the remnants of council space, factions opposed to the truce plotted in shadows. Some sought to reignite the war, convinced that only domination could secure their future. Others feared change, clinging to old prejudices. General Reyes understood that lasting peace required more than treaties. It demanded patience, empathy, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths. She convened a new task force composed of diplomats, scientists, and veterans from all species. Their mission to foster education, cultural exchange, and cooperation, building bridges where once were walls. One evening, as the task force gathered under Sereneville's starlit sky, Reyes addressed them. We carry the hopes of millions, she said. The darkest times showed us what we can endure. Now, the brightest times depend on what we choose to build. From the gathered voices came a shared pledge to nurture peace not as a distant dream, but as a living reality. Years passed, and the galaxy transformed. Trade routes reopened. Scientific collaborations flourished, and art and culture thrived across worlds. The war that once threatened to consume civilizations became a solemn chapter in history, remembered not for division, but for the resilience that followed. Humanity emerged not as conquerors, but as partners in a grand cosmic community on Sereneville. Beneath the ancient crystalline trees, Elder Cyril and General Reyes watched children from many species play together, laughing, curious and unburdened by past fears. This, Cyril said with a smile, is the true victory. A future where we rise together. Reyes smiled back. The future we dared to dream. As the twin suns set, their light bathed the galaxy in a warm glow, a new dawn, born from the trials of war and the enduring hope of peace. The end.